I mean, this is my livelihood and everybody else here in the community. I mean, for them to leave us unallocated is stressful. Nobody knows what to do.
Lordstown's last Chevy Cruze rolls off the line like a ghost of promises past, and Wall Street barely blinks. Stock tickers flash green while the town diner dims. Its neon open sign a silent question. Tonight isn't another corporate pivot. It's the moment America learns the map was redrawn without her. Behind every share buyback celebration stands a family sealing a cardboard future, a machinist pawning tools, a senior delaying retirement to buy groceries. GM's retreat isn't a blip. It's a beacon showing industry the back door. And as Washington hurls slogans across the border, 5 ruthless moves are already detonating under the factory floor, each pushing wages down, prices up, and hope straight off the assembly line. Stay with me, because what unravels next will decide whether Main Street weathers the storm or becomes another empty exit on America's broken highway. Number 5. GM's Great Betrayal. Jobs lost, borders crossed. 14,000 pink slips fall like metal shavings on a factory floor, and the echo is louder than any campaign rally. 5 plants: Lordstown, Detroit-Hamtramck, Oshawa, Warren, Baltimore, go dark in the space of a press release, their parking lots turning into slow-motion graveyards of idle pickup trucks. Yet GM's board doesn't flinch. They quietly slide $5 billion south to Mexico and another $1 billion east to China and India, where wages are low, regulations thin, and no politician can tweet them into submission. In Lordstown, a single abandoned Cruze gathers dust behind chain link, a monument to promises broken. On Wall Street, GM's buyback machine grinds out green bars, shrinking share counts while shrinking communities. The math is brutal. Every 20% of stock repurchased equals thousands of lives erased from payrolls, an equation celebrated in boardrooms and mourned in grocery aisles where families now choose between rent and dinner. And here's the dagger. By fleeing before Trump's 200% tariff hammer lands, GM dodges the blow and pockets the savings, leaving taxpayers to sweep up the shards. What started as America First is ending as Workers Last, proving loyalty isn't a corporate line item. It's an expense to eliminate. If the sight of an empty plant light flickering at midnight makes you as angry as it makes me, hammer that like button right now. Let's show the people writing pink slips that we're still counting every name on them, and we're not staying silent. Number 4. Ford's silent revolution. Goodbye factories, hello future. While Trump still waved a steel tariff cudgel, Ford quietly rewired its DNA. Project T3, $50 billion for fully robotic lines, now hums where human chatter once filled break rooms. In the prototype plant outside Monterey, one engineer babysits a swarm of arms that stamp, paint, and bolt an electric truck every 45 seconds. 90% of the payroll, once belonging to Midwestern families, has been converted into code. Farley's gamble is cold math. Solid-state batteries co-developed with BMW, 800 pounds shaved per chassis, and click-to-door sales that erase dealerships entirely. Each efficiency point rung from silicon removes another shift back in Michigan. AI now drafts wiring diagrams before lunch. In Dearborn, the cafeteria TVs still loop campaign vows, but nobody queues for food anymore. And the geography? Anywhere but Detroit. New factories rise where wages hover near $4 an hour and regulators cheer instead of challenge. Ford pockets tariff offsets, cheap lithium, and a port 10 miles away. Back home, the lights and glass towers still glow, but the parking lots around Flat Rock are thinning, a quiet foreshadow of an industry handed to algorithms. Ford isn't reacting to tariffs. It's leapfrogging the argument, proving the hard law of globalization. If a robot can build it cheaper, the robot wins, and a line worker simply disappears. Number 3. Mexico's counterpunch. Assembly lines without borders. Trump's tariff trumpet was meant to frighten factories back across the Rio Grande. Yet Mexico answered with a grin and an open checkbook. In Silao, GM signed a record-breaking production deal. In Hermosillo, Ford inked a 10-year tax holiday that wipes out labor costs the way an eraser clears a chalkboard. By shifting one full pickup program south, GM saves enough to offset a 200% tariff before the first truck even hits a U.S. highway. But the real stinger hides in plain sight. Every part stamped in Guanajuato returns north as a subcomponent, dodging tariff codes written for finished vehicles. Customs waves the crates through. Politicians wave flags on camera, never mentioning the loophole big enough to drive an F-150 through, because that's literally what's happening. Meanwhile, back in Ohio and Michigan, ripple effects spread faster than morning coffee. Seat foam suppliers slash shifts. Rail yards idle. Diners switch from night hours to for lease signs. Local chambers plead for relief. Yet the investment brochures in Mexico promise free land, fast permits, and wage bills that look like rounding errors. Mexico didn't steal America's auto heartland in a midnight raid. It waited for Washington to pick a tariff fight, then offered companies a painless escape route, and they sprinted for it. The scoreboard now shows jobs southbound, profits tax-free, and a Midwest wondering how many more blowtorches will flicker out before someone rewrites the rules. Number 2, Canada and the EU turn their backs. Allies no more. While Trump barked at China, Canada and Europe quietly turned the page. Ottawa offered Ford and GM green subsidies, AI manufacturing credits, and a rare thing in 2025 certainty. The result? A fresh $1.8 billion Ford EV facility in Ontario, and GM declaring Canada its strategic production hub. Just across the Atlantic, Brussels responded to U.S. steel and car tariffs with a 25% retaliation tax on American goods. Everything from bourbon to bulldozers. Suddenly, U.S. exports became luxury items abroad, and American companies found themselves squeezed between collapsing foreign demand and rising domestic costs. And who paid the price? Not the CEOs cashing bonus checks. It was farmers in Iowa, whose soybeans sat untouched in European ports. It was engineers in Alabama, whose parts suppliers watched contracts dry up overnight. Even legacy allies started hedging bets. France deepened ties with China's BYD. Germany signed bilateral EV deals with Japan. And Canada? That could double down on building what the U.S. couldn't. Fast, cheap electric trucks with full political backing. What we're seeing isn't betrayal, it's rebalancing. The countries once holding America's economic ladder now realize they might be better off building their own. And as the White House rants about loyalty, the world's boardrooms are asking a colder question. Who still makes sense to trade with? Number 1, the supply chain collapse, when everyday life got expensive. By mid-2025, the average American didn't need an economist to explain what was happening. They could feel it in the checkout aisle. Orange juice up 40%, car insurance spiking, smartphones delayed for months. The global retaliation cycle had reached Main Street. It began with the European Union's 25% tariff on U.S. goods, then spread. Brazil blocked American poultry. India imposed restrictions on U.S. tech imports. China accelerated its yuan-first policy, demanding payment in its own currency, choking dollar-based trade flows. The impact was immediate and brutal. Small-town hardware stores couldn't restock basic tools. Auto parts from Canada now carried hidden surcharges. Even school districts had to delay laptop purchases due to pricing chaos. And when suppliers missed deadlines, layoffs followed, quietly, relentlessly. Inflation returned like a storm no one budgeted for. Families that once bought new cars every 5 years pushed it to 10. Grocery trips got shorter. Travel plans vanished. And through it all, the message was cruelly simple. You're paying more for less, because someone somewhere hit reply all in a trade war. This wasn't just about foreign tariffs or corporate greed. It was about the unraveling of the invisible threads that made modern life function. Threads now tangled by ego, politics, and short-sighted deals. And by the time Washington noticed, the shelves were already empty. America's factories didn't collapse in a single headline. They bled out, job by job, bolt by bolt, while the world quietly moved on. GM chose buybacks over workers. Ford chose robots over roots. Mexico opened its gates. Canada cashed in, and the everyday American left footing the bill for a global game they never agreed to play. The cruel irony? No bombs fell. No enemies invaded. The empire wasn't conquered. It was ignored. While Washington shouted slogans, the supply chain snapped, the Allies drifted, and the world economy redrew itself without asking permission. So now the question isn't, how did this happen? It's how much more can we lose before we realize we've already been left behind? Is this betrayal or just a new definition of progress? You tell me. Drop a comment below.